Captain Alina Vasquez was drinking coffee when the galaxy started screaming. The emergency beacon cut through the morning quiet of New Sparta colony like a knife. Red lights flashed across the command center. The sound was something no human had heard before, a desperate cry that came from the deepest parts of space. Alina put down her cup and walked to the main screen. Her boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. Round her, the other officers stopped what they were doing. Everyone knew that sound meant trouble. "What do we have?" Alina asked. Lieutenant Davis checked his screens. His face was pale. "It's coming." From the Galactic Trade Consortium, emergency code red, the highest level. Alina felt her stomach drop. The consortium was made up of all the smart alien races in the galaxy. It had been around for thousands of years. They had technology that humans could barely understand. If they were sending out emergency signals, something very bad was happening. "Put it through," she said. The screen filled with the face of a Zephyrian. The crystal being's body was shaking. Its normally bright colors were dim and gray. Alina had never seen one of them look scared before. "To all ships in range," the alien said. Its voice was like music, but sad music. "The Veltar have broken the Treaty of Rings. They are attacking our worlds. 3 star systems have gone dark. We need help. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help." The message ended. The screen went black. Alina stared at the empty screen. Around her, the command center was silent. Everyone knew about the Veltar. They were the monsters that lived in the dark parts of space. They were bugs the size of ships. They ate everything they found. The Treaty of Rings was supposed to keep them locked away in their own corner of the galaxy. "Sir," Davis said. "Do we do?" Alina thought about it. Earth had 12 colonies now. New Sparta was the newest and the farthest from home. They had a small defense force, 3 ships, and maybe 1,000 Marines. Not much against the Veltar, but the consortium had never asked humans for help before. In fact, they had done the opposite. They had kept humans away from their space. They said humans were too violent, too dangerous. They called Earth a death world because it was so harsh compared to their soft planets. "Send word to Earth Command," Alina said. "Tell them about the message. Tell them the consortium is asking for help." Davis started typing. "What about us? Sir, do we stay here?" Alina looked out the window at New Sparta. It was a good colony. The people there were farmers and miners. They had families. They had built something nice on this world. But she also thought about the fear in the Zephyrian's voice.
She thought about 3-star systems going dark.
"We wait for orders," she said. 2 days. Later, the orders came. Were not what anyone expected. Admiral Marcus Chen's face filled the screen. He was an old man with gray hair and hard eyes. He had fought in the Mars Wars and the Belt conflicts. He was the kind of man who made tough choices. "The consortium has officially asked for Earth's help," he said. "They are offering us full membership. And 3-star systems. If we can stop the Veltar." Lena felt her heart beat faster. Full membership meant humans would be equals in the galaxy. The 3-star systems would give Earth room to grow. But Chen continued, "They are also scared of us. They know what humans can do in a war. They know we come from a death world. They know we are good at killing things." He paused. "I'm putting together a fleet. Every ship we can spare. Every Marine who can fight. We're going to show the galaxy what Earth is made of." Alina knew she would be going. Her ship, the destroyer Spartan, was one of the best in the colonial fleet. Her crew was good. They had trained for this kind of fight. Over the next week, ships started arriving at New Sparta. They came from Earth, from Mars, from the asteroid belt. Some were military ships with big guns and thick armor. Others were cargo ships that had been turned into warships. A few were mining vessels with plasma cutters that could melt through. Anything. Alina walked through the docking bay and looked at the ships. They were not pretty like the alien vessels she had seen in pictures. Those ships looked like art, smooth and elegant. Human ships looked like tools. They were built to work and to survive. The crews were the same way. The Marines who came off the transport ships were hard people. They had scars and tattoos. They carried weapons that could punch through a wall. They laughed too loud and swore. Too much. But Alina knew they were good at their job. Captain Sarah Kim commanded the transport New Tokyo. She found Alina in the mess hall. "You ever fight aliens before?" Sarah asked. "No," Alina said. "You pirates a few times. Nothing like this." Sarah looked around at the other captains. "Think we can do it?" Alina thought about the Zephyrian's scared voice. She thought about the 3 dark star systems. She thought about the Veltar and their hunger. "We're humans," she said. "We're from a death world. We've been fighting since we learned to walk. I think the galaxy is about to find out why they kept us locked away." Sarah smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Good, I was hoping you'd say that." The next morning, Admiral Chen's fleet jumped to hyperspace. 47 ships, 10,000 Marines. They were heading into the unknown to fight monsters that ate planets. Behind them, New Sparta kept spinning around its sun. The farmers kept farming, the miners kept mining. But everyone knew that something had changed. Earth's children were going to war, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Indomitable and watched his fleet move through hyperspace. 47 ships from every corner of human space. It was not the biggest fleet ever built, but it was the most dangerous. The Indomitable was the pride of Earth's navy. She was 800 meters long and covered in armor thick enough to stop a meteor. Her guns could crack a moon in half, but she was ugly compared to alien ships. Human engineers cared more about making things work than making them pretty. Chen walked to the command chair. Around him, his crew worked at their stations. They were quiet and focused. These were people who had trained their whole lives for war. "Admiral," said Commander Torres, "we're getting reports from the front lines." Chen looked at the screen. The news was bad. 4 more star systems had gone dark. The Veltar were moving fast. The alien defense fleets were running or dying. "How long until we reach the war zone?" Chen asked. 6 hours, sir." Chen nodded. 6 hours to save the galaxy. No pressure. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace near a small space station. It was a consortium outpost that collected refugees. Chen could see dozens of alien ships floating nearby. They were damaged and crowded with people who had lost their homes. "Sir," Torres said, "we're getting a signal from the station commander." The screen showed a knife fight. The Gastian alien looked like a cloud with eyes. It was speaking very fast. In its musical language, translation coming through, Torres said. He says, "Thank you for coming." He says the situation is very bad. The Veltar are only 2 systems away. Chen opened a channel to the whole fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We're going to dock with that station and get information." 8. "Want to know everything about what we're fighting?" Captain Alina Vasquez brought her destroyer Spartan close to the station. She could see the refugee ships more clearly now. They were beautiful vessels made of crystal and metal that looked like art, but they were also broken. Huge holes had been torn in their sides. Some were barely flying. "Jesus," said Lieutenant Davis. What did that to them? Lena knew. The Veltar had done it. But seeing it was different from hearing about it. Colonel James Morrison was all ready. Suiting up in the docking bay, he was the commander of the 3rd Marine Regiment. He was a big man with scars on his face and arms. His Marines called him Reaper because of what he did to pirates in the Belt Wars. "What's the mission, Colonel?" asked Sergeant Maria Santos. She was Morrison's best squad leader, small and fast with eyes that missed nothing. "We're going over to one of those refugee ships," Morrison said. "The aliens want to tell us about the Veltar. They want to show us what we're fighting." Santos checked her weapon. It was a pulse rifle that could cut through steel. "Think they can handle seeing humans up close?" Morrison smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Guess we'll find out." The Marine shuttle flew to a damaged Zephyrian ship. The crystal aliens had agreed to meet with the humans, but Alina could tell they were nervous about it. Morrison and his squad entered the alien ship through an airlock. The inside was like a cave made of living crystal. Everything glowed with soft light. It was beautiful, but it was also strange. Human ships had straight lines and right angles. This ship was all curves and flowing shapes. A group of Zephyrians waited for them. The crystal beings were tall and thin. Their bodies were clear like glass, but with colors that moved inside them. Alina had seen pictures, but meeting them in person was different. The leader spoke in perfect English. "Welcome, humans. I am first speaker Velilin. Thank you for coming to help us." Morrison nodded. "We're here to learn about the enemy." Velilin's colors shifted to dark blue. "Sphere," Elena realized. "Come, I will show you what they did to us." They walked through the ship. Elena could see the damage up close now. Something had torn through the crystal walls like they were paper. The holes were not clean like weapon hits. They looked like bite marks. "The Veltar came without warning," Velilin said. "Our defense fleet tried to stop them. We had 60 ships. Good ships with particle beams and shield generators." They reached a viewing area. Through the crystal window, Elena could see pieces of wreckage floating in space. Metal and crystal mixed together in a cloud of debris. "They ate our ships," Velilin said quietly. "The Veltar bioships wrapped around our vessels and dissolved them. Our weapons barely scratched their hulls. Our shields were useless." Santos stepped forward. "How many of them were there?" "Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. They move like a swarm of insects. But these insects are the size of your destroyers." Morrison was taking notes on his tablet. "What about their tactics?" Velilin's color shifted again, this time to gray. "They have no tactics. They just charge forward and eat everything. They don't care how many die. There are always more." Lena looked out at the wreckage. She tried to imagine the battle. 60 beautiful alien ships against a swarm of hungry monsters. It would have been a massacre. "How do they reproduce so fast?" Morrison asked. "Hive mothers," Velilin said. "Massive bioships that create the smaller ones. Each hive mother can spawn hundreds of fighters every day." Santos whistled. "How big are these hive mothers?" "Your largest ships would fit inside their mouths." The Marines looked at each other. Lena could see them calculating. This was going to be a hard fight. "Why did they break the treaty?" Morrison asked. Velilin's colors went completely dark. "You don't know. They've been quiet for 200 years. Then suddenly they started moving. They're not just raiding anymore. They're trying to eat the entire galaxy."
Morrison
finished his notes. "Thank you for the information. We'll stop them." Velilin looked at the human colonel. "How?" "Our technology is far ahead of yours. Our ships are faster and stronger. If we cannot stop them, how can you?" Morrison's smile came back. "Because we're not like you. We're from a death world. We've been fighting our whole lives. And we're very good at killing things that need killing." The shuttle flew back to the human fleet. Morrison sent his report to Admiral Chen. The information was not good, but it was useful. Chen read the report and made his decision. "All ships, this is the Admiral. We're moving to intercept the Veltar advance. I want the fleet in attack formation. It's time to show these bugs what humans can do." The fleet turned toward the war zone. Behind them, the refugee ships watched them go. Some of the aliens were hopeful. Others were afraid. Elena looked at her crew. They were ready. These were people who had grown up on a world that tried to kill them every day. They had survived ice ages and asteroid impacts. They had fought wars in space and on dead planets. "All hands, this is the captain," she said over the ship's speakers. "We're going into battle. Remember your training. Watch each other's backs. And show these aliens why Earth breeds the best soldiers in the galaxy." The human fleet jumped to hyperspace. They were heading toward the biggest fight in galactic history, and they were looking forward to it. The Kepler 442 system was dying when the human fleet arrived. Admiral Chen looked at the main screen and felt his jaw clench. The system had 3 planets. 2 were burning. The third was covered in a black cloud that moved like it was alive. "Jesus Christ," whispered Commander Torres. The cloud was made of Veltar bioships. Millions of them. They swarmed around the planets like hungry ants. Some were small, only the size of fighters. And in the center of it all were the hive mothers. Chen had seen the intelligence reports, but seeing a hive mother in person was different. It was a mountain of flesh floating in space. Tentacles as long as city blocks reached out from its body. Smaller bioships poured out of holes in its sides like water from a broken dam. "Sir," Torres said, The consortium defense grid is still fighting, but they won't last long. Chen could see the alien ships. There were beautiful crystal and metal vessels that moved like dancers. Their weapons drew pretty lines of light across space. But the Veltar didn't care. For every bioship they killed, 10 more took its place. How many hive mothers? Chen asked. 3 big ones, sir. Maybe a dozen smaller ones. Chen nodded. The big ones had to die first. Cut off the head and the body would follow. All ships this? Is Admiral Chen? We're going straight at the biggest hive mother. I want every gun we have pointed at that thing. Marines, get ready for boarding action. We're going to tear that monster apart from the inside. Captain Elena Vasquez felt her heart race as the Spartan moved into attack formation. Around her, the human fleet spread out. They didn't move like the elegant alien ships. They moved like wolves getting ready to hunt. The Veltar noticed them coming. A wave of bioships broke off from the main swarm and headed toward the humans. There were thousands of them. They moved fast and didn't fly in neat formations. They just came straight ahead like a wall of teeth and claws. Contact in 30 seconds, reported Lieutenant Davis. Alina gripped the arms of her chair. All weapons. Free fire. Give them everything we have. The human ships opened up. Plasma cannons and railguns and missile launchers all fired at once. The space between the fleets lit up like a star-going nova. The first wave of bioships hit the human wall of fire and died. They exploded in bursts of green blood and torn flesh. But more kept coming. Always more. Alina watched a bioship the size of a destroyer ram into the cruiser New Berlin. The alien creature wrapped itself around the human ship like a giant snake. Acid dripped from its mouth and started eating through the hull. Spartan 2, New Berlin, Alina called. We're coming to help. But the New Berlin didn't need help. Ports opened along its sides, and Marines in powered armor jumped out. They landed on the bioship's back and started cutting into it with plasma torches. The creature thrashed and screamed, but the Marines held on. Within minutes, the bioship was dead. Damn, Davis said. Remind me not to mess with those guys. The human fleet pushed deeper into the swarm. They took damage. Lots of it. The destroyer Perth lost her engine room. The cruiser Stalingrad had her bridge blown off. But they kept fighting. That was what humans did. Colonel Morrison watched the battle from the assault transport Normandy. His Marines were loaded into drop pods waiting for their turn. They had trained for this, boarding actions against alien ships, but those had been exercises. This was real. Colonel, the pilot called. We're approaching the hive mother. Admiral. Chen wants your Marines inside that thing in 10 minutes. Morrison keyed his radio. All squads, this is Reaper. You know the drill. Get in, find the brain, kill it, get out. Try not to die. That's an order. Sergeant Maria Santos checked her gear one more time. Plasma rifle, grenades, cutting torch, first aid kit. Everything a Marine needed to ruin someone's day. You scared, Sarge? Asked Private Wilson. He was new, fresh from Earth. Santos smiled. Kid, I grew up in the slums of New Angeles. My mom used to say that if the world didn't kill me by breakfast, the rest of the day was a gift. This is just another Tuesday. The drop pods launched from the Normandy like bullets from a gun. They flew straight at the hive mother's hull. Point defense weapons tried to stop them, but human drop pods were built to survive anything. They punched through the creature's skin and kept going. Santos felt her pod hit something solid and stop. The door blew open and she rolled out into nightmare. The inside of the hive mother was like being inside a giant stomach. The walls were pink and wet and moved like they were breathing. Strange lights pulsed in the darkness. The air smelled like rotting meat and acid. Form up, Santos called. Her squad moved into combat formation. They were professionals. They'd trained for this, but training was different from reality. The corridors twisted and turned in ways that made no sense. Sometimes the floor became the ceiling. Sometimes passages opened up that hadn't been there before. This place is alive, Wilson said. His voice was shaky. Yeah, Santos said. So we kill it. They moved deeper into the hive mother. Other Marine squads were doing the same thing in different parts of the creature. The plan was simple. Find the brain and destroy it. But the Veltar didn't make it easy. Defender organisms came out of the walls. They looked like spiders made of teeth and claws. Santos burned one with her plasma rifle and watched it melt. Contact. Front, called Corporal Kim. More defenders were coming down the corridor. Dozens of them, Grenade Santos ordered. The Marines threw their explosives and hit the deck. The passage filled with fire and smoke. When it cleared, the defenders were gone. But Santos could hear more coming. They found the brain chamber after an hour of fighting. It was a huge room filled with pulsing tissue. Cables made of nerve fibers ran everywhere. In the center was something that looked like a giant eye. "That's it," Santos said. "That's what's running this thing." Wilson raised his rifle. "Should I shoot it?" "Hell no," Santos said. "We're going to blow it up proper." The Marines placed their charges around the brain. Santos set the timer for 30 seconds. "Time to go, people." They ran through the twisting corridors as fast as they could. Behind them, the Hive Mother was screaming. It knew what was about to happen. The explosion shook the entire creature. Santos felt the deck plates buckle under her feet. The lights went out. Emergency lighting came on, then went out too. "Move, move, move," Santos yelled. They reached the extraction point just as the evacuation shuttles arrived. Santos dove through the door as the Hive Mother started to collapse around them. The shuttle pilot was grinning as they flew away. "How'd it go, Sarge?" Santos looked back at the dying Hive Mother. The massive creature was breaking apart.
Ow.
Its bioships were falling out of formation like insects with their heads cut off. "Just another day at the office," she said. Admiral Chen watched the largest Hive Mother die and felt something like satisfaction. One down, 2 to go. But the Veltar weren't giving up. The remaining Hive Mothers were pulling back, calling their swarms to them. They were learning that humans were dangerous. Sir Torres said, "The alien commanders are asking what our next move is." Chen looked at the tactical display. The Veltar were regrouping, but they were scared now. For the first time in this war, they had faced something that could hurt them. "Tell them we're just getting started," Chen said. "Time to show these bugs what happens when you mess with a death world." The human fleet formed up for the next attack. Around them, the alien ships watched in amazement and fear. They had never seen anything like human tactics. The galaxy was learning that Earth's children fought wars differently than everyone else, and the Veltar were learning that some prey could bite back. The news of humanity's victory spread through the galaxy like wildfire. But so did something else. Fear Captain Elena Vasquez stood in the briefing room of the Spartan and watched the alien commanders argue on the main screen. The Zephyrian Council was meeting an emergency session. Their crystal bodies flashed with angry colors as they debated. "The humans destroyed 3 Hive Mothers in one battle," said First Speaker Velelin. "But look at how they did it.
Hey.
They sent soldiers inside living creatures to plant bombs. They used fire and acid and explosives. This is not how civilized beings fight wars." Another Zephyrian spoke up. "Perhaps being civilized is why we were losing." Lena turned to Admiral Chen. "Sir, they're scared of us." Chen nodded. "Can't say. I blame them. We just showed them what Deathworld tactics look like." The meeting ended badly. Half the council wanted humans to continue fighting the Veltar. The other half wanted them stopped before they became the next threat. Alina could see the fear in their crystal faces. They had asked for help from monsters, and now they were wondering if they had made a mistake. But the war wasn't over. The Veltar were regrouping in the outer systems. Intelligence reports said they were building new Hive Mothers. Bigger ones. "Need more information," Chen said. "I want to know where they're coming from. I want to know how many there are. I want to know how to kill them all." That was how Captain Elena Vasquez found herself leading a strike team into hell. The mission was simple in theory. Get close to a Veltar breeding ground. Capture a queen form alive. Extract intelligence about their home systems. Get out before the swarm noticed. In practice, it was suicide. Elena's team had 12 people. Marines, intelligence officers, and 1 alien advisor, a Krell named Zixith, who knew about Veltar biology. The Krell looked like a giant praying mantis, made of metal. It spoke in clicks and buzzes that the translator turned into words. "The breeding ground is heavily defended," Zixstage said. "Queen forms are precious to the Veltar. They will fight to protect them." Sergeant Santos checked her new gear. The science teams had been busy after the last battle. Her rifle now fired rounds made from Veltar biometal. Her armor had acid-resistant coating. Her grenades were filled with a chemical that ate through bioship holes. "How big is this queen form?" Santos asked. "About the size of your shuttle," Zixh said, "but very intelligent. It's much smarter than the drones." Private Wilson raised his hand. "Sir, how do we capture something that big?" Santos smiled, very carefully. "Kid, the stealth ship Ghost dropped them off 3 systems away from the breeding ground." Elena's team transferred to a captured Veltar bioship. The science teams had figured out how to control it using electrical signals. It was like riding inside a giant insect. Flying the bioship felt wrong. The controls were slimy and warm. The walls pulsed like a heartbeat. Elena had to fight down her revulsion every time she touched something. "Contact ahead," reported Lieutenant Davis. He was piloting using a neural interface that the scientists had built. "Looks like patrol drones." Elena looked at the screen. 3 Veltar bioships were heading toward them. They looked like sharks made of bone and metal. "Will they recognize us as friendly?" Elena asked. Zix clicked nervously. "Unknown. The bioship has the right chemical signals, but if they scan too closely, ... The patrol drones came closer. Elena held her breath. One of them matched speed with their ship. It extended a tentacle and touched their hull. "It's tasting us," Zix whispered. Elena watched the drone. It seemed satisfied with what it found. After a few seconds, it pulled away and continued its patrol. "We're through," Davis said. The breeding ground was a nightmare of organic architecture. Massive structures grew out of dead asteroids like cancerous tumors. Bioships moved between them like blood cells in a vein, and at the center was the Queen ship. It was beautiful in a terrible way. The Queen ship looked like a flower made of flesh and bone. Thousands of smaller organisms swam around it in perfect formation. Elena could see the Queen form inside through translucent walls. "How do we get close?" Elena asked. "We pretend to be delivering food," Zix said. "Worker bioships bring captured ships to the Queen form for processing." Elena didn't want to know what processing meant. They docked with the Queen ship using magnetic clamps. The airlock opened with a wet-sucking sound. Elena led her team inside. Interior was like walking through a living cathedral. The walls curved up into the darkness. Strange lights pulsed in patterns that almost made sense. The air was warm and humid and smelled like copper. Swayzik said, "The Queen form will be in the breeding chamber." They moved through corridors that felt more like arteries. Santos kept her rifle ready. Wilson looked sick. Even the hardened Marines seemed uncomfortable. They found the Queen form in a chamber the size of a hangar bay. It hung from the ceiling in a web of nerve fibers. It was larger than Zixith had said, more like the size of a small ship. But it was also beautiful. Its body was covered in patterns that shifted like oil on water. "How do we capture that?" Wilson whispered. Elena was wondering the same thing. Then she saw the neural interface cables. "We don't capture it," she said. "We talk to it." Santos stared at her. "Sir, look at those cables. This thing is connected to the entire Hive network. If we can interface with it, we can download everything." "It knows." Zix clicked excitedly. "Yes, but we need to sedate it first. A conscious Queen form could kill us with a thought." Elena looked at her team. They had brought sedatives for a capture mission. But using them here, in the heart of a Veltar hive, was incredibly dangerous. "Do it," Elena said. Santos fired a sedative dart into the Queen form's body. The creature shuddered and went limp. Alarms started ringing throughout the ship. "They know we're here," Zix said. Elena plugged the neural interface into the Queen form's brainstem. Data flowed across her tablet screen. Star charts, fleet positions, breeding schedules. The location of the Veltar home systems. "Got it," Elena said. "Time to go." But as they ran back toward their bioship, Elena saw something that made her blood freeze. The Queen form was waking up. The sedatives weren't strong enough. The creature's eyes opened. They were huge and black and filled with ancient hunger. It looked directly at Elena and spoke inside her mind. "You are from the Death World," it said. "We know of your kind. You're the ones who survived the long dark. You're the ones who learned to kill everything." Alina felt the creature's thoughts pressing against her mind. Images flashed through her head. The Veltar home systems. Billions of bioships. Hive mothers the size of moons. "You think you can stop us?" the Queen Form said. "But we are eternal. We have eaten 1,000 galaxies. Your death world made you strong, but we are stronger." Alina forced herself to speak. "Maybe, but we're going to try anyway." The Queen Form laughed. It was a sound like breaking glass. "Yes, you will try. That is what death world creatures do. They try until they die." Alina's arms, "Sir, we need to go. Now." They ran for their ship as the Queen Form's mental scream echoed through the hive. Bioships were already moving to intercept them. The breeding ground was waking up. Their stolen bioship launched just ahead of a swarm of defenders. Davis pushed the engines to maximum. The ship screamed through space toward the jump. "Point, are we clear?" Lena asked. "Not yet," Davis said. "They're following us." Alina looked back at the breeding ground. It was shrinking behind them, but she could still feel the Queen Form's presence in her mind. Those ancient, hungry eyes watching her. They made it to the jump point and escaped to hyperspace. The Ghost picked them up 3 hours later. Admiral Chen read Elena's report in silence. The intelligence was incredible. The Veltar had 17 home systems, hundreds of hive mothers, billions of bioships, but they also had a weakness. The Queen Forms controlled everything through mental links. Cut the right connections, and entire fleets would fall apart. "This changes everything," Chen said. "We're not just fighting a war anymore. We're fighting for the survival of every thinking species in the galaxy." Lena nodded. She was still shaking from her encounter with the Queen Form. "Sir, they know about Earth. They know we're from a death world. They're not scared of us. They think we're just another species to eat." Chen looked out at the stars. "Then they're about to learn why death worlds produce the best soldiers, why humans don't know how to quit." The final battle was coming, and Alina knew it would be the biggest fight in galactic history. The final battle began at dawn on 17 different worlds. Admiral Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched the largest fleet in galactic history prepare for war. 2,000 ships from every species in the consortium. Human destroyers flew alongside Crystal Zephorian cruisers. Gas giant Nephite vessels moved in formation with insect-like Krell fighters. But at the center of it all were the humans. They had become the backbone of the fleet. Our ships were the ugliest and the strongest. Their marines were the most feared. Their tactics were the most brutal. And everyone knew it. "All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Chen," he said into his communicator. "Today, we end this war. The Veltar have 17 home systems. We're hitting all of them at once. No retreat, no mercy. We finish this." Captain Alina Vasquez felt her hands shake as the Spartan moved into position. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly. They had been fighting the Veltar for 8 months now. They had seen things that would give them nightmares for the rest of their lives. But they had also learned how to kill the monsters. "Target acquired," reported Lieutenant Davis. Hive Mother clustered dead ahead. Alina looked at the screen. The Veltar had built their home systems into fortresses. Massive hive mothers floated in space like living planets. Millions of bioships swarmed around them. It was the largest concentration of Veltar forces ever seen. "All weapons," Alina said. "Fire at will." The human fleet opened up with everything they had. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids. Railguns that fired projectiles at a quarter the speed of light. Missiles loaded with acid that ate through bioship armor. The Veltar responded with their own weapons. Bioships launched themselves like living bullets. Acid sprayed across space in deadly clouds. Tentacles longer than city blocks reached out to grab human vessels. Sergeant Maria Santos was already in her drop pod when the battle started. She could feel the Spartans shaking as enemy fire hit the hull. Round her, the other Marines sat quietly. They had done this before. "Listen up," Santos said over the radio. "Intelligence says the main Queen Form is in the biggest hive mother. That's our target. We get in, we kill it, we get out." "Questions?" Private Wilson raised his hand. He wasn't new anymore. 8 months of fighting had turned him into a veteran. "Sarge, what if we don't make it out?" Santos smiled. "Then we make sure the Queen dies with us." The drop pods launched from the Spartan like bullets from a gun. They flew through the battle toward the massive Hive Mother. Point defense weapons tried to stop them, but human drop pods were built tough. Santos felt her pod punch through the creature's skin and keep going. The door blew open, and she rolled out into the nightmare she had come to know well. But this Hive Mother was different. It was older, bigger. The corridors were like cathedral halls. The walls pulsed with ancient power. And everywhere there were defender organisms that looked like nothing she had ever seen. "Form up!" Santos called. Her squad moved into combat formation. They had become experts at fighting inside bioships. They knew which walls were weak. They knew where to place their charges. They knew how to kill living ships from the inside. Fought their way deeper into the Hive Mother. Other Marine squads were doing the same thing in different parts of the creature. The plan was simple: find the main queen form and destroy it. But the Veltar weren't making it easy. Its defenders were smarter than the ones they had fought before. They used tactics, they set traps, they fought like soldiers instead of animals. "Contact front," called Corporal Kim. "Big ones coming." Santos saw them. Defender organisms the size of tanks. They had armor that looked like it could stop anything. But the Marines had learned to adapt. Wilson, Kim, flank left. Rodriguez, Torres. Flank right, I'll go straight up the middle. Hit them from 3 sides. The Marines moved like they had been fighting together their whole lives. Wilson and Kim used plasma torches to cut through the defender's armor. Rodriguez and Torres hit them with acid grenades. Santos went for their weak spots with her rifle. Within minutes, the defenders were dead. They reached the Queen Chamber after 2 hours of fighting. It was enormous. The ceiling disappeared into darkness. The walls were covered with nerve cables that pulsed with light. And in the center was the ancient Queen Dash form. It was the oldest Veltar any human had ever seen. Its body was covered in scars from 1,000 battles. Its eyes held the memory of entire galaxies consumed. When it spoke, its voice was like the sound of dying stars. "Deathworld children," it said, "you've come far from your small blue planet." Santos raised her rifle. "Time to die ugly." The Queen form laughed. "We are eternal. We have eaten civilizations that existed before your species learned to make fire. What can you possibly do to us?" This Santos said. She fired a round made from concentrated human hatred. It punched through the Queen form's hide and exploded inside its brain. The creature screamed. The sound shook the entire Hive Mother. Lights flickered and died. The nerve cables started sparking. But the Queen form wasn't dead yet. It struck out with a tentacle that moved faster than Santos could see. The blow sent her flying across the chamber, Sarge. Wilson yelled. Santos got to her feet. Blood ran down her face, but she was still fighting. "I'm okay, kid. Keep shooting." Marines poured fire into the Queen form, plasma rounds and acid bullets and explosive charges. The creature fought back, but it was dying. Its mental link to the hive was breaking down. Across the 17 systems, the effect was immediate. Bioships stopped in mid-flight. Hive mothers went silent. The Veltar swarm, which had terrorized the galaxy for months, suddenly became just a collection of confused animals. The alien fleets pressed their advantage. Crystal ships fired particle beams. Gas giant vessels launched gravity weapons. Insect fighters swarmed over disabled bioships, but it was the humans who finished the job. They boarded every hive mother they could find. They hunted down every queen form. They made sure that the Veltar would never threaten the galaxy. Again, Admiral Chen watched the last hive mother die and felt something he hadn't felt in months. "Peace, sir," Commander Torres said. "The Consortium Council is requesting a meeting. They want to discuss the terms of the peace treaty." Chen nodded. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. The galaxy had seen what humans could do in a fight. They had seen the brutal efficiency of Deathworld tactics. They had seen why Earth's children were the most dangerous soldiers known. Space, some species would welcome humanity as protectors. Others would fear them as potential conquerors. The peace that followed wouldn't be built on trust. It would be built on the understanding that humans were apex predators. But that was okay. Humans had never needed to be loved. They just needed to be respected. Sergeant Santos stood in the ruins of the Queen Chamber and looked at what was left of the ancient Veltar. The creature that had eaten entire galaxies was now just meat and bone. Is it over? Wilson asked Dot Santos. Holstered her rifle. This part is. But there are always more monsters out there. That's why the galaxy needs people like us. Wilson looked confused. People like us? People from Deathworlds, Santos said. People who know how to fight. People who don't quit when things get bad. They walked back through the dying hive mother toward their extraction point. Behind them, the last of the Veltar queens breathed her final breath. The galaxy was safe. For now, but everyone knew that Earth's children would be watching, waiting, ready to answer the next time the galaxy cried out for help, because that was what Deathworld humans did. They protected the weak. They fought the monsters. And they never, ever gave up. The peace treaty was signed 6 months later. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Consortium. They were given 3 star systems and the right to establish colonies anywhere they wanted. But the most important thing they gained was respect. The galaxy now understood that humans were different. They were the children of a world that had tried to kill them every day. They were the apex predators of known space. And sometimes, when the monsters came calling, that was exactly what the galaxy needed. Admiral Chen's final report was simple. Mission accomplished. The Veltar threat has been eliminated. Recommend. Continued human presence in consortium space for defensive purposes. The galaxy is safer with us watching over it. The stars looked different now. Peaceful. But everyone knew that peace was fragile. There would be other threats. Other monsters. And when they came, the galaxy would call on Earth's children once again, because that was what they did. They answered the call. They fought the fight. They paid the price. They were humans. And they were the best soldiers the galaxy had ever seen.